Record. Okay, so for this lab, I'm going to go and go over what we had to do. We had to pin Hyper-V to our taskbar. I'm going to close this out. So what we had to do is go to the search on our servers, type in HY, right click, and pin to taskbar. That was our first step. Second step is launching the Hyper-V manager. And then clicking on your computer name to the left. You should probably only have one computer name in the list. I've got other people's in the class so I can see or help you out if you're having trouble. So I'm clicking on my computer, it's 106 instructor. You'll be 0 through 9 or 11 through 18, something like that. And we've already, or all these machines should have the Windows Server 2019 install image located on the computer. We're going to create a virtual machine, and the virtual machine is going to designate a certain amount of CPU cores, a certain amount of RAM, and a certain amount of hard disk space to install Windows Server 2019 into. Our first thing we do to create a new virtual machine is over on the right side. They call this the Microsoft Management Console that we've got open. And they've always got 3 parts here. You've got a tree pane, you've got the details pane right here in the center, and then on the right side is your actions that you can do, the things that you are clicked on in the detail pane or the tree pane on the left. So all the way over here on actions, click on new, find virtual machine with an ellipse. What's an ellipse? You know what that term means, ellipse? The 3 dots. Cool. You're like, well, he said virtual machine, then he said ellipse. The only thing else up there is 3 dots. So cool. You may have already learned that in another class, but I learned that a while back and thought, hey, cool. Now I know what to call stuff. Yep. Makes me feel smart. So I got to pretend to be smart. Someday people will find out. So a new virtual machine wizard comes up. This is kind of similar to if you've done this in operating systems class, a VirtualBox or a VMware workstation, VMware Fusion on Mac or anything like that. This will be kind of similar, creating a virtual machine. This is just Microsoft's version of it. I said, if you want to do this at home, you have Windows 10 Pro or Windows 11 Pro to do that. Let's go next. Let's specify the name of a virtual machine. So I think it's AA, right? For what you've already got on yours. So we're going to use AM. And what we're doing, we're following, quasi-following under week 1, if the internet's not broke. It's going to show how to get this lab 1 here. We're kind of following the instructions here under week 1. That may have been real quick, but I clicked on week 1 under the home page. It's LAN 1 install lab. So we're going to create a new virtual machine. We're going to name it like AM LAN 1, your last name, and RO. Also gave another example for the PM class. The afternoon class is going to use PM LAN 1. So that's the style. Now don't type last name. This means your last name, not the actual last name. I also have students that copy me whenever I'm doing this, and I type in LAN 1 and I put Goodman, and guess what? They type Goodman too. It's like, you're not me. I'll just be your kid. I'm your son now. No, no, I already have kids, but he kept it up all semester. Hey, Dad, no, don't do that. Please, AM, LAN, capital I, your last name with RO at the end. This will separate us out from the afternoon class that starts at 1 o'clock. Let's go next. Generation. Hyper-V allows us to select generation of virtual machine. Let's look at the description. Virtual machines for 32-bit and 64-bit guest operating systems is generation 1. Generation 1 is really more geared for 32-bit operating systems. There's not a lot of 32-bit OSs out there. They're pretty old. You're thinking like Windows 98, Windows XP. So old stuff. Also, generation 1 is legacy BIOS boot. Generation 2 has UEFI based BIOS firmware and 64-bit. That's the pretty much go to most operating systems that you're going to install, including most Linux distributions out there. They're going to be 64-bit, and they're going to need a UEFI BIOS. I don't know why it's defaulting to generation 1. Microsoft likes backward compatibility, so it take a really long time before they get into modern times, like a decade after something's already went to EOL because it was already 10 years old. So you're looking at 20, 25 years before they start. Like maybe we can set the default to modern times. So generation 2, it should even say that right here in the lab. See, specify generation 2. Next, it's going to have us specify the memory. It tells us 4096. Why not 4000? Why 4096? I want it to be real 4 gigabytes, and 4000 is not an actual RAM configuration you can put in a real system. You're buying, gig or 4 gig sticks. They're 4096 meg or 1024 meg. So I'm using what actual hardware RAM numbers would be. I found that the systems run faster and are more stable if you put real memory numbers up there instead of rounding. Check. Use dynamic memory. Most of the time, the machine won't require 4 gig to run, and it'll free up for like Chrome or anything else to run. And we can watch that. It's not as cool as the way VMware can do it, but it's a little bit. VMware has it patented, or another. They're what you see in data centers, big data centers. Microsoft you see in like labs, K-12 schools, small businesses and stuff. So let's go next. Configuring the networking. I'll show you this. I pre-created these switches. I got one bridged. And if you took operating systems class, that means that it's the software switch in RAM that actually connects to the network adapter. When you set up virtualization and you bridge a switch to it, it treats your network adapter like a switch port. Sometimes the physical switch that you got your computer plugged into when you have virtualization installed, you have to configure it as a trunk port. Because now all of a sudden it sees your computer as a switch. Pretty entertaining or interesting. So you'll understand those terms I just said if you took Cisco 1 and 2. If not, well,
taking Cisco 2.
You may not know what the heck I just said about trunk ports and stuff.
No,
We're picking internal because it says configure networking internal network. We don't want these to be hitting the internet and getting Windows updates and all of that. Let's go next.
Yeah.
Create a virtual hard disk. But it says lower the size to 60. Where would I do that at?
size.
Right where it says size, and type 60. Good. You're paying attention. The location should have default to C:\VM. That's another thing I pre-set up when I install these computers, is to go to that specific folder. So once you got 60 typed in, you can go next. We're at installation options. Install an operating system. Select the server 2019 ISO file you downloaded above, which that link right there would have downloaded it if it wasn't already on the machines. It's already on the machines. Then what do we do? Well, how do we get it in there? You click the radio button, install an operating system. That way you can browse and find it. So you do have to select this middle radio button from a bootable image. And do probably is default to the C:\ISO, but if not, you can click browse, find your C drive, double click the ISO folder, find the SWDVD9, make sure you're getting the one with standard core 2019. I think 2016 has been cleared off of the machines, but there could be a machine or two that somebody's got the older 2016 on there. If you expand the name all the way out, it'll be 1809.9 version. It's a pretty massive file name. Is everybody good? Found it? Just click open and it will show up in the field. Okay. Next, your summary should look similar to mine, except for the last name up there should be your last name. Just double check. Don't see Goodman on there. So generation 2, 4 gig of memory, internal networking, hard disk should be listed there, dynamically expanding. So we'll click finish.
See, the I looks so much cleaner than the one. You definitely should do the I. What LAN 1 is.
I did put LAN 1. I.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You did an I.
Yeah.
You did a 1, but the I looks cleaner than the one.
Yes. Yeah. I use capital I for that. Now it says to connect to the machine you created. That's a right click. You can also use the actions over here and find connect, but I right click so much. I'm not a Mac user. I actually have a right mouse button, so that's cool. I'm not a loser like Mac people. I'm gonna get in trouble. Connect. Somebody's a Mac person. Gonna hate me. It's okay. I have an iPhone. So.
I was gonna say.
You're gonna say, yeah, don't you have an Apple product? Yes. So we connect to it. And we come to this screen. There is a problem with Windows images. They typically ask you to hit a key to boot from the CD. Otherwise, they try to boot to the hard disk. And this might be able to detect the disk is uninitialized and it might auto boot, but when we click start, be prepared to keep your mouse inside this black area and be prepared to see something on the screen that says press spacebar to boot to CD or DVD. You have to do it within a second or two, otherwise it skips past it. Yeah, it's kind of tricky here. So I'm going to click start and I'm going to watch and I'm going to hit when it said something. I hit a little bit too many times it come to here, but that's okay. I can go and just hit enter. So that's the only menu option is to go to Windows setup. If you fail to do that, the play button up there, the green play button will reboot the thing and let you hit the space bar. So I'm going to just hit enter and let it load. And we'll get to this spot. So Dalton, what is yours doing? Do we need some troubleshooting? So let's troubleshoot. Don't move your mouse. Let's go check settings. So you got the ISO. Everything looks good. And a reset should let the space bar just power off, turn off. Why is yours being funky? Start it again. There we go. Okay, apparently reset didn't work. Apparently powering it off. Okay, you can get your mouse back. I like that too.
You do India style. Reset, isn't that American style? Reset's weird. I think India is the one that would take from.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So choose your language and currency and stuff should default to United States. This part shouldn't be very complicated to do. We'll click next. Now we do have two options here. What are they?
Repair your computer and install.
Yeah, repair or install. If you're needing to repair from this spot, your system's really screwed. So, but it is there, thankfully. I want to try Shift F10 before I go further. Shift F10 is pretty neat. If you need a administrator command prompt and you don't want to go into repair mode or go into install and need to get access to the hard drive of the system, that gives you an administrative command prompt. That's sweet.
Yeah.
That's just a tidbit, not part of this class, just, hey, it's there. I'm going to type exit and get out of that. That brought me an administrative command prompt. So might be able to copy some files off the system or something, a virus infected machine. Not like it was a few years ago with viruses. So install now. I'm going to go look at my instructions to see what else I'm supposed to be doing. Probably it's good to read instructions, especially when you're dealing with server stuff. Especially when you're installing something on a server, because it's not just double click, accept license agreements, next, finish, done. No, normally when you install stuff on a server, you've got to do like 50 things to prep the server to install it. Otherwise, it's not going to work right. So it's not like a desktop. Found that out the hard way when I was younger. Working at the BB school district in the late 90s, having to reinstall an entire server because.
Do you know Nathan Stigler?
Yes. He works in IT. So.
That's all.
I probably know them if they work in IT. Not everybody, but.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like we did a lot of this in his classes, but it's so long ago. I just feel like.
Thank goodness they got him instead of the one before. Goodness, I feel sorry for the school that other person went to. I'm just not going to. It's on YouTube, so. No, let's just, no. It's good. It's been recorded. I'm not going to say. I didn't say that he was an issue.
You know who that is, Tim?
And I don't know who that is. So. We got to install with the desktop experience. It says.
Yeah.
The non-recommended option.
Yeah.
Non-recommended. So we come up to this screen. We're wanting the 2019 standard desktop experience. That's what it said, right? Desktop experience standard. Yes. Yep. So following directions, I'm picking the not recommended.
You just told us it's not on the desktop. Now I'm clicking desktop experience.
Yeah. Desktop experience. Doesn't it say not recommended? Does it not say? Because standard says, yeah, that's recommended. So not the recommended option. Desktop experience. I don't want you to just have a command prompt and try to learn from that right away. We will put one out there that is recommended, but not yet. So that'll be a week or two. Yeah. Let's get the ones with the desktop experience standard. So just the second one down from the top. We'll go next.
So what's the advantage of just having a command prompt?
And it's a lot less RAM and they're faster. And junior admins won't want to get on there and install crap because they're just a command prompt and they'll stare at it and go, I'm scared of that, and they'll go away. They've started implementing that on campus because they had trouble. The main controllers and stuff shouldn't have anything but the main software on it. Nothing else should be on there. So it's too big of a security risk. Even if you don't have internet access to them, it's a major security problem. And normally tools conflict with Active Directory. And you don't want your central user database authentication to be screwed up. That's why. So we got to accept the license agreement. Critical think here. What are we clicking? Why are we clicking custom? Because we don't have anything installed. Very few students have ever said that or even wanted to click custom. That is the correct answer. There's the ones like, we click upgrade. What are you upgrading? The server. Like, you just created it from scratch. There's nothing to upgrade. Upgrade should be.
That shouldn't be the word. Okay, upgrade's a bad word. Because everybody's gonna put upgrade over custom.
Yeah, upgrade should never really ever be in your toolbox of something you'd do in IT. Upgrading from 2016 to 2019 server has lots of issues with that. There's some custom registry settings and permission changes and stuff that won't be upgraded to the latest security. So upgrading is typically not something most IT allow in their organization. The only way to upgrade is stand up a new system and migrate data to the new system, because you got everything freshly installed from scratch, all the new latest security certificates and everything installed on the server from scratch. So upgrade should not ever really be something you would do. Just a hint there on you. That's also recorded in the video. Okay, we're not going to do any type of special partitioning. Normal server, you would have like one hard drive to install the OS, then you have like terabytes of space to do other stuff on. We'll set up one of them. We'll have a server 3 that we'll do that on, but not this. Let's go next. This is awesome, but it's not going to ask any more questions randomly throughout the install. If you're an antique like me, you remember that you couldn't just get up and go take a break at this point in time. You had to stay there because every 2 minutes to 3 minutes, it was going to ask you another question. It would ask you the keyboard layout, and then it would go next and it'd ask you like, what pieces of software did you want installed? Then it'd ask you for the license key. Then it'd ask you if you wanted to accept the ALUA, and then a couple more minutes, and it would ask you for the time zone. And then a little bit longer, it'd ask you, do you want to set up your networking? And then, like, good Lord. Then after that, it'd go a couple more minutes to ask you what computer name you wanted to be named. Just stop already. And then, you know, really back in the day, then it asks you like, hey, we found some hardware, and put in the driver disk for the sound card, and it eject the CD-ROM. You take it out and you put in the driver for the sound card, and then it would copy one file and go, oh, now I need something on the Windows installer disk, and you eject that and you put it back in and close it and copy one file. I need something back off the sound card, and then you swap it and you do that. And you're like, for 10 minutes, like, just copy it all at once. So this, yeah, do that with floppy disk too.
Yeah.
But this is just amazing. You don't realize what IT improvement has happened over the years. I do, because I'm old, apparently, but somehow happened. So I may have some more stuff running on. I've got the video rendering to record the screen. I'm also monitoring all of y'all's screens. So yeah, my system's got doing other stuff. Yes.
Who was it that did that in our class in Stinger's class? Someone actually did that in download virus.
Now there's a legit website to download more RAM.
I swear, I can't remember who it was. It was probably Ethan.
Is it downloadmoreram.com? Yeah, there you go. Download more RAM, free. Upgrade your computer. All you got to do is just click this button and you need 32 gig. Sure, there we go.
No, that would be sweet if our internet was fast enough.
Let's
to actually
download.
do this.
You heard of being rickrolled, right?
Yes, but think about how cool that would be if we had the internet fast enough, we could actually like have cloud, right? Be a sweet time. Dude,
I wonder how many family members, if you posted this, like, look, you can upgrade the memory on it. I wonder how many people would do this.
how many people that know what that is? That's a good question.
Click here for more info. I don't want to be whatever. Is it YouTube's going to even work? Okay, well, it goes to Rick Astley.
Dude,
And
that has 1 billion views.
Yes. That's how many people's been rickrolled. Clicking on stuff because they're not smart. Well, some people's been rickrolled a lot of times because they never learn. They see stuff like that, download more RAM, and some of them may not even know what rickrolled actually means. It means like you just got bamboozled. Okay, where did it go? Set the administrator password.
You know what whooshing is? I'm sure you know whooshing.
I've heard of that, but not really sure.
You don't get on Reddit at all?
No, I've been on Reddit some, but
What was it?
yeah, it's in the instructions too. Step 3 up there.
Dude, I'm sorry. I got a dog on.
So we've not taken a break, so I guess we'll get out of here at 11:40. Get early lunch. Awesome. Now what do I do? So if I hit Control-Alt-Delete, it's going to go to my host machine and it's going to like ask me to change my password and stuff. How do I hit Control-Alt-Delete for this virtual machine? There's a couple of ways to do this. The easiest way is use the button bar. And there's 3 keys in the top left. The very first icon in the button bar is Control-Alt-Delete. VirtualBox has like Control Enter, or they've got maybe Shift Delete, or different virtualization products have different ways. This one is Control-Alt End. So I could use Control-Alt End to do a Control-Alt-Delete to the screen, but I'm just clicking that. Most virtualization software products have a quick button you can click instead of memorizing the key combination. Can you log in? I remember when the install used to take about 70 minutes.
70 minutes, you got paid though.
90 minutes to do. Now as well, just teaching class. It just made labs a lot longer. That was fast. Installed a whole operating system. We're already logged in. Love these computers. They're wicked fast. They're cool. You installed your first server. If you've installed Windows 10 or Windows Vista and later, any product from that, you probably recognize the install. It's not difficult for server install. And if not, well, welcome to the first time installing something. I I hope it wasn't too terribly difficult.
So do you ever have to like, when you install like a OS on a server, right? Are you ever gonna go in the BIOS like you would when you build like a game PC? And like, you know, you would set up like certain stuff like M.2 drives, you have to set up a certain way.
You normally have to go into the RAID controller BIOS and set up your virtual disk first. Yep. Normally set up like a RAID 1 for the OS to install into, and then you set another chunk of disk up in RAID 10 for the data. That's the recommended scenario for that. We're doing virtual machines, so we're not having to worry with any of that. What we would have to worry about with would be, you know, not the virtual machine, but you know, that the host machine that's originally got the first OS on it. So that's what would be have to set up. You'll see some of that system virtualization class and some of your other classes. Okay, so you come up to this, server manager automatically starts. That's great, especially like Windows Server 2012. Do you remember Windows 8? If you don't remember Windows 8, that's like great. You didn't have to live through that, but it didn't have a start menu. It had like, it was terrible. So I was thinking, why would you have a server with the Windows 8 interface? You know, when you click like the start menu on it, it would just like go into a tile section. Same thing that on the server, like it's just not no. So luckily you could do everything in Server Manager. And it's still true, 2016, 2019, although we do have a start menu, we really don't use much under this start menu. There's not much you do here. I right click. I do the stuff on the right click and I use everything in Server Manager. So we got to get used to the Server Manager. First things first, click on local server. All the stuff right here used to be asked at random times during installation. And you couldn't just click a few questions at the beginning and then go get a coffee break. Of course, our machines are so fast, it's like zip, we didn't really have time to, when we got done BSing, it was already installed and done. In the olden days, it would sit there 30 minutes, an hour, just like I'm wasting my time.
Yeah, but you could go get coffee.
And then you come back and like, I wasted 15 minutes here and it's just sitting there. Okay, stuff that needs to be set up. Set up in here. Time zone. Can you find time zone? Pretty easy. It's a hyperlink. It automatically takes you to the right tool. Instead of right clicking down here at the clock and going to time settings, and it's a quick hyperlink brings it up. It's still the same as, you know, you could go to every single spot that you would configure this in Windows 10 and do it manually, but these hyperlinks make quick work of changing the time. Why is it Pacific time? Anybody know why it's always Pacific time?
It's very specific.
Because Microsoft's in that time zone in Washington, Redmond. That's why. Once I changed it, I noticed this is almost like a web page here. I have to reload. There's a reload button at the top of the page, or I could wait and it'll reload every so many seconds. So because you change something and you don't see the change doesn't mean it hasn't happened, but you do hopefully find that reload button in the top gray bar. Everybody good? Anybody scared yet?
Scared?
I'm gonna have to find something that'll scare y'all.
No, I really just need to get a jargon sheet.
Oh yes, jargon is. So you like the medical lab tech, you go down, you know, and stand around them when they're on break. And you're like listening. You're thinking it's a foreign language. Yes, it's Latin. It really is a foreign language. Don't have a clue what they're saying.
See, I thought I'd come here and everything was kind of like be fine.
So I looked at the instructor and like, so Is this what y'all feel like? I don't know what the heck y'all are saying. Is that what y'all think when you're around us? Like, yeah, we have no idea what y'all are saying.
Like, I know it, I know DNS and I've heard all these terms, but it's like, my brain just doesn't remember. It's like I forgot.
So we set the time zone. We install Active Directory domain services role and DNS role. I don't know if I want to install this Visual Studio Code and PowerShell extension. I think I'm going to skip that for this because PowerShell scripting, automating things is big. Like UMS has 32,000 nodes on their network, or well, no, it was 28,000. That was 2017. They had 28,000 printers, servers, tablets, PCs, and stuff on their network. You can't go to those and fix them. I mean, they had a staff of 600. Still, 600 against 28,000 objects. Scripting is the only way to handle stuff like that. Once you get past, you know, a small business of 20 people, you're going to have to script stuff out.
We will?
Yes.
Or computer science degree?
No, you will, because it's now part of the IT staff. It's not developing applications. It's a little bit different. Scripting's tough, but it's not like developing an application. So sorry, but yes, the scripting is going to be a bigger and bigger as the years roll on into your standard IT staff role. Okay, so Microsoft, when we installed things in the past, they installed everything just about and turned it on and allowed the anonymous full access to it. It was nearly impossible to keep people out of a server if it was on the internet. Because like, bling, we're here, we'll install FTP and Gopher and web services and remote administration, and we'll allow anybody with just anonymously to connect to it with no password, administer everything. Microsoft figured out that companies weren't going to continue using their product, and they're competing with other companies that were much better at the time, Novell and Unix and Linux and stuff, just starting to come around, Linux anyway. So they also getting in trouble with governments and being sued, and they had to set up a secure coding initiative somewhere around 2000 to 2003 is when they set that up. They put out Windows XP and Windows 2003 Server under the secure coding initiative, and got much better with it when they got to Vista and later. So they started installing these servers, and instead of installing everything and turning it on, they kept everything turned off. And they didn't allow anonymous full administrative access to everything. And all of the extra features, other than what just needs to get to this screen right here in the desktop, they left compressed and on the hard drive, which is also a big benefit. You no longer have to carry around the installation media with you. I can eject the CD-ROM up here, which probably should. To media, DVD, and eject. That no longer needs to be in the system because the entire installation is on the disk. The components like Active Directory that's in the instructions to install is compressed, so it's a virus can't really hack. It doesn't have ports open. It's not running in RAM. And as Windows updates the server, it also goes in and updates any component. We have cumulative updates. Don't just update what's running. It also updates all of Windows, including components you don't have installed yet, which is another cool benefit. In the olden days, you'd install something from the CD. Well, guess what? Those are whenever it's put on the CD, sometimes years ago. And then you have to go and install patches again. So that was terrible.
Why don't we have why doesn't Windows have automated driver updates? Why does that work?
It does. If they're a Microsoft certified driver, you can. you can go in and set that up. I don't know if I'll show you that in this class or intro to security class. You can go and configure Windows updates and stuff. There is a section on Windows updates in this curriculum, so we'll probably cover that at some point in time. How to get driver updates to auto update. There's some settings that you can set for it. Okay. So saying all of that, these are going to be domain controllers in the future, meaning they're going to house the usernames and passwords, group accounts, and control the Windows 10 machines we're going to put out later on. So for that, we need the server to extract the Active Directory code, open up the firewall ports and stuff. It's a database system. It's got to set that all up. So it's not on by default. So we got to tell it to do that. And we do that with Server Manager. And if you look at the Manage tool menu, which one do you think we'll pick? Add roles and features, because the instruction said add the Active Directory domain services role. So that matches role. So just click Manage, add role and feature, go next. Installation type is going to be role-based. Rarely would you do remote desktop services. That's for if you're virtualizing your Windows 10 machines and stuff. So we're not going to study any of that. That's beyond this class. So it's always going to be role-based or feature-based. Role-based are services that clients are going to connect to remotely. Feature-based are normally tools that are installed into Windows that you can use to manage the operating system or manage a role. So features are normally not something that remote people connect to. Only roles are typically things that your customers are going to connect to remotely across the network. So that's the difference between those two. And we're going to install both. We're going to install role-based stuff, and we're going to install the feature, meaning the tools to manage Active Directory will be installed. It's normally good to do that. Next, select a server. Centralized management. We don't actually have to be on the system that we're installing this stuff on. We have 15 servers at our company. We can make them all be listed here and pick on one of them. This actually would run on Windows 10. The server manager, you can make it run on Windows 10 and do all this stuff. You don't have to be on the server at all. There's your lower total cost of ownership, because you can access stuff without physically being somewhere. Next, it said Active Directory domain services. And it's automatically giving us the option to install all the features that we need to manage that. I like that. I'm going to click yes, add features. The instructions said, what other role do we need? DNS. And again, it's going to install the feature to manage DNS services.
Can you please explain DNS so I'm looking at art?
So yeah, the like routers and switches, they only look at IP addresses.
Right.
They don't look at computer names. And DNS translates.
IP to computer.
Yep. So all the scripts and stuff that you'll be writing, like your username and password, you type your username at whatever domain name, all of that's just plain text. That's what the DNS server will translate. Mm-hmm. It's also, when you're logging in, your Windows 10 machine has to ask, where is the password server that I'll send this to? DNS contains that information, which computer names on the network actually can handle the username password, because they can change. If your computer's been off for a while, it can change. So when it boots up, DHCP or static DNS is set with an IP address. So you hit that server and then it says, okay, this is the IP address to such and such. It is probably the problem Only about 95% of Active Directory issues fall back to DNS not being configured properly. It is a major component, infrastructure component. If it's not working properly, everything's screwed up. So that's my go-to. If something's not working, I go check, is the right DNS servers in the client machine? Can I access it? Are the records correct? Okay, we go next. It's already pre-picked the features. Is there anything else? I think, was there anything else I wanted to add? Yes, while we're here on this feature set, because I'm doing both LAN 1 and LAN 2 this semester, all in one class. Everything's gonna be done this semester. Let's go down here to remote server administration tools. Administrators don't say remote server administration tools. Do you know what they say? RSAT. Correct. Let's open this up. Little triangle. Let's open up remote server administration tools. It's got a checkbox beside it, but go ahead and click the arrow and it expands that out. And let's add DHCP server tools. Let's open up file services tools. And let's check the first two, distributed file management and file server resource manager tool. NFS does not work good on Windows. We'll talk about that, but it's talked about in this curriculum. I've never seen it stable on Windows, from Windows 2000 all the way to 2019 server. It's never been stable enough. Put it on a Unix system. That's where it was originally developed on it. Stable on Unix or Linux. Print and document services. Let's open up remote access management tools. And then nah, I don't think we need those. Those are all checked. I think that's it. We can, if we're missing anything, we can add later on. I'm just trying to add them now so that it takes up less space. We're going to do cool stuff on Friday. We're going to clone this twice just to show you how you can clone stuff, take up less hard disk space than doing full installs. Let's go next. We don't have internet, so we're not going to integrate with Azure. So we just go next. And next again. Let's go and click restart destination automatically if required. Click yes. Click install. So this extracts all of those tools and all of those features. They call it Windows side by side. Windows, it's a SXS folder under the Windows somewhere. Windows 10 utilizes it. They started utilizing this back with Windows Vista.
Are you trying Windows 11?
Yes. When it came out, we downloaded it and we installed it in LAN 2 class, I think it was. We added it as we seen how we could add it as a client to an Active Directory domain, just to see what steps and stuff were different on it.
Those things are really caring about it.
Yeah,
Something like that, make a big deal.
it's a change, massive change, and companies don't
Like,
change just for change. They normally get long-term service builds of Windows that don't even get the feature updates. And that's what we're going to be installing. We're going to be installing what enterprise customers would use. They'd use like a Windows 10 1809 version. That's what we're going to install. Yeah, it sounds old because we're in 21H2 or whatever right now. But yeah, they'll be stuck with the 1809 long-term service build. We'll get patches all the way out to 2029. Even though Windows says they're EOL in 2025 now for Windows 10, not the long-term service builds. They will continue to get patches to 2029 at least. Okay, apparently it didn't need to restart. It's done. You can hit close. We have 2 minutes. Think we can do this in 2 minutes. Let's go ahead and close down Server Manager. It tells us we're not going to install the Visual Studio Code this time around. We want to use a different, focus a little bit less on PowerShell this time, and maybe add that to LAN 2, use a different tool for it. But, run sysprep from the Windows System 32 sysprep folder. So I'm going to open up File Explorer. Be really, really careful. Make sure when you grab File Explorer that you can't drag it outside. See, it doesn't drag outside my window, because if you sysprep your host machine, it takes 10 minutes to fix it. I don't like to do that. Be really careful that this is inside of your virtual machine, because look, the manila folders look the same. They're really close to each other. So make sure you opened up the correct one. If you open up this PC and go to C drive, you should not see an ISO folder. You should only see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 folders out there. That's all you should see. That's another verification that you're on the right one and you're not sysprepping your host machine. Okay, so double click Windows. To get the System 32, if you didn't know this trick, I'm going to click on one of these folders up here. And I'm going to hit S on the keyboard to jump down to the S's, because it's a little bit of a scroll to get down to the S's. That's neat. Now I can just find System 32 quite readily, because I already jumped to the S's, and double click on it. It also wants us to find sysprep inside of System 32. So I'm going to use the same little tip and click one of the folders, tap the letter S. There's quite a few S's here, so I may have to scroll a little bit to find the SY sysprep folder. So there it is. Quick way to jump and find things, because when you have 1,000 files and something. So we'll double click on sysprep. This right here is a cloning prep tool. It used to not be included in Windows, but when virtualization hit big and everybody was cloning, they finally included it. Started including it in Windows Vista and newer. So any supported Windows operating system will have this in there. It used to be just used for like manufacturers, HP and Dell, to make images of Windows. What sysprep does is it removes the hardware specifications out of the registry, so that you can clone the Windows and put it in different motherboards and stuff. Pick up and reinitialize and rescan, reinstall drivers. It can also do something else. It can rip out the global unique identifier that Windows creates when it first gets installed. It's a unique code that's kind of like the IP address behind a domain name or behind a computer name. It's a large 128-bit or larger number, unique ID. And when you clone Windows, that ID is what's used to like set up a client server network. If you clone a machine and two machines have that same unique ID, the server is going to go, no, even though you have different computer names, different IP addresses, and the only way to get that ripped out of the registry is to sysprep the system. So if we double click on it, you click generalize, that rips the global unique identifier, it blanks it out, meaning this is going to be used for cloning. They really should say, check here to clone. Really would be better if they did that. They don't. They just say generalize. Okay, what the heck does that mean? Shutdown must be selected. So as an IT person, that's probably what you're always going to do. The only thing that reason you would not generalize is maybe that you are going to take your hard drive and put it into a brand new computer. You could sysprep it without generalizing it, tell it to shut down, take your drive out, put it in a new computer, boot it up, and let Windows reinitialize all the hardware. That sometimes works. Every time I've done it, it worked. Not saying it worked 100% of the times, but yeah. Then I didn't have to install anything new. That was cool. You're an IT person, you're going to be running with virtual machines, you're going to generalize and shut down. You can't let it set reboot, because as soon as it tries to start, that registry keys, that global unique identifier is the first thing that the bootloader throws it into the registry, the few milliseconds that it's loading up. So it has to be shut down. Real easy, checkbox shut down, but this confuses a lot of people and you can mess up on it a lot. So click OK. We're about ready for lunch. Big enterprises use VMware. That's what we'll do in your fourth semester system virtualization. And they automatically can run sysprep without you having to do this. You can clone stuff really easy. It's not as complicated as Microsoft makes it out. But we're using Hyper-V, so it's going to be complicated a little bit. Okay, let's close out this shutdown. We want to close it. Do not start. Close it. Your Hyper-V management window, it will be off. You want to delete it. So delete key or right click and delete. Make sure start is never hit. So we're deleting this. And I told you that your little observation that when we delete virtual machines, the hard disk doesn't get removed. That's where this helps. We're going to use that to clone. We've got a full install. We're going to make 2 clones. We won't have to reinstall. We won't have to add server roles. It's all done. We'll do that Friday off of that file.
So that VM is ready to be put into whatever.
Yeah. So once it auto shut down, you delete that AM RO VM that was in
So
your
we can
list.
take that VM and pretty much just fill as many computers out of like other VMs or out of it as we want.
Yes, you could.
Pre-install, no.
Yeah, you can copy that file and rename it several different times and start up. We're going to do what's called a link clone, which you don't only do in a lab environment. You don't do for production, but
So instead of having to sit up here some computer, you can make one clone like that.
Yes. I was going to look at somebody's machine. So yeah, everybody deleted that virtual machine. If you're scared, you can look on your C drive and see the file is still there. See, it's there, 10.3 gig. The entire install, Active Directory, all the feature sets in there. And on Friday, we'll do some link cloning. It describes that process. If you want to just read through this part right here, it'll describe what we'll be doing on Friday. If you're curious, you may even want to watch a YouTube video or something between now and then. So that's it. It's lunchtime.